Today we are going to be joined by Samantha Landers, who is one of Durban's top singers, and I'm going to be asking her some questions about her career. So Samantha, could you tell me what made you decide to go into music as a career?
My name is Samantha Landers and I am a professional singer here in the Durban area. I am based in Durban, this is where I live, but I have been lucky enough to travel and meet loads of people through my job. I don't really think I made an active decision to start a music career. I think that music chose me. I always loved music. I started singing when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Music was something that was very common in my home. My parents are both, lovers of music and supporters of the arts. So I started going to shows really, really early on and, watching movies with loads of music in them, all the Disney movies. And I fell in love. So when the opportunities arose for me to sing and perform, I took them, and one thing just sort of led to another. And even though I did go to university and study a degree in journalism and media, when I graduated, I decided I really wanted to sing. So I walked into a show here in Durban, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Are you involved in many other activities other than performing in shows?
The thing about the arts is that the more you're able to do, the more work you have, and the more sort of pies you can dip your fingers in, the more experience and exposure you get. So for me personally, shows are only one aspect of what I do. I also coach vocals to a number of students, from very young to, well, the oldest is, my oldest student that I've ever taught was about 74. I teach beginners, intermediate singers, and I also do vocal rehabilitation for artists in the industry who may have blown out their voices from a lot of shows or a lot of singing, so I help with that. I also consult for different choirs around the country, so when schools are preparing for big competitions, they call me in and I have a look at their choirs and give them performance critique and technique. I have been involved in music direction for various shows, which has been an absolute blast. And that's basically just getting singers ready, or getting the singing component of the show ready so that people are ready to perform. And what else? Because singing is all about stage and presentation, I often get asked about clothing and hair and makeup advice, and so I sometimes do that as well. And I've even taught some acting lessons to get people ready for speaking correctly and presenting themselves on the stage. So I do quite a lot of activities other than just shows, and yeah, I work pretty much full time, just in different avenues of music.
Do you think that formal training is necessary, and what sort of training would one need?
This is a really interesting question because I think that people have different opinions about this. I started as a classical vocalist when I was 12, and I trained doing Trinity classical singing because that's really all that was on offer. Contemporary music is quite new, particularly in South Africa. When I had finished studying, I always knew that I had sort of a natural ability to sing more pop stuff, so pop and R&B and musical theatre, and those were the styles that I was singing. So I decided to study that, and by the time I'd finished university, there was a coach available to me, so I started training with her. And since then, I have been lucky enough to train with 2 additional coaches. So in total, I've had 4 vocal coaches over the course of my life. I still train to this day. Is it essential to have formal training? The tough thing about singing is that you have to be able to do it naturally. It's a gift that you either have or you don't. But I think formal training is really important if you want to take it further. Because just like an athlete going into professional sport, you need to learn about things like the injuries that come with singing. You need to learn about looking after your voice. It's really important to understand how to rehabilitate if you do hurt yourself. And also because if you don't know how to grow and improve and challenge yourself, then you kind of stay in one place for a long time. And the music industry is changing so often that it's really good to stay on top of your game. So for me, I love having a coach. Obviously, I don't need to see my coach every week like I used to when I was learning. But I see my coach once every 2 months or so, but he's in New York, so that's also why we see each other online. And yeah, I'm really grateful. I feel like I've grown a lot, and every teacher has something different to teach, so I feel like I'm always growing. And I think that coaching is really, really important if you want to take anything to a professional level. I think it's really good to stay on top of your game. Okay, what challenges are common for singers to deal with? There are quite a few challenges for singers. I think firstly, our instrument, because it's part of our bodies, it means that it's affected by a lot of different things. So your overall health, so you can wake up without having slept very well and you'll hear it in your voice, or you might feel like you are getting a bit of a cold and then that affects your singing. Physically, being really tired can affect your singing. But then on a personal level as well, singers have to deal a lot with the fact that not everybody's going to like you. So singing is very subjective, and you know, if we look at celebrities, some people love, I don't know, Justin Bieber, and some people hate Justin Bieber, and it doesn't make him a better or worse singer. It just means that he is some people's taste and he's not some people's taste. So I think that's a tough thing, is learning about whether or not you believe in yourself enough, so that if somebody doesn't particularly like what you have to bring to the table, then that's okay. But singing is an opinion, and yeah, not everybody's going to love what you do. So I think that's one of the challenges. And then I think maybe the mental game of it. People forget that we have to be ready to perform all the time. And so it doesn't really matter what's going on in your personal life. You have to stand up and arrive and bring the show. So with singers, that can be really tough, because if your voice is sore, if you've had a hard time, if you're feeling sad or anxious, this is where it shows first. And it's kind of important to mentally be able to wrap your head around the fact that you can't deal with that now. You're going to just sing and perform and do your thing, and you're going to deal with your stuff later on. So that's probably one of the things you've got to grow into as a professional singer.
Could you mention some of the highlights of your career?
Okay, what are some of my career highlights? Well, I've been really, really lucky in my career to be able to perform in loads of great places. I was able to travel all the way to Sweden to meet my dream vocal coach. I'd been reading all of his books, and I became such a fan of his, and I applied to join him at a workshop that only accepted 15 singers, and I was accepted. So I traveled to Sweden and worked with Seth Riggs for a week, and he trained the likes of Michael Jackson and Michael Bolton and Bernadette Peters. I know not all of you all know her, but she's big in the Broadway scene. He worked with Jennifer Lopez, he worked with Mariah Carey, so he's got a really, really cool student list, and I got to work with him, which was pretty cool. I get to work with really good South African singing celebs like Kayam Tetwa, Carl Deitch, Shakana, so that's super cool as well. I get to sing with them, and I get to train them when they're looking for some vocal TLC. Then they give me a call, so that's really great. And then of course the performing. I've traveled to places like Russia, England, Ireland, Wales, to be able to sing, and I've been able to sing in front of huge audiences, which is really cool. And here in Durban, I've been a part of great shows like the Dolphins by Starlight at the end of the year that happens at Ushaka Marine World, and sung for thousands of people. And I've done beautiful musicals like Beauty and the Beast at the Snedden. So yeah, there's a lot of career highlights. I get to sing at fabulous events like the Durban July and get really dressed up and get treated like a VIP. So pretty cool.
And what tips would you give to budding musicians and people who would like to get into the music industry as a career?
If you are hoping for a career in the music industry, it's really important to remember that you have to put the work in. Nothing comes easily. It's a tough industry. It's very competitive. So don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to learn. The most important thing in this game is having a good attitude. People work with who they enjoy working with. So it's really important to remember that directors, producers, they like people who are on time, people who are presentable, people who are easy to talk to and give feedback to. That's really, really important in the music industry. You know, there's nothing worse than trying to work with someone with an ego or an attitude. And usually the best artists are the nicest, because they know how much work goes into productions, and so they get a lot of work. But when you're a bit of a diva, people don't really enjoy working with you. So I think that's probably one of the main things to remember. And then also remember that even though your voice is only one part of it, your body is really, really important. And as an artist, you need to take care of yourself. So it's important to eat properly, to work out regularly. Those are important elements in being generally healthy, and in the arts it's something important because we've got to be able to perform 7 or 8 shows a week without getting sick. We've got to be able to stay on top of our vocal game, stay on top of our mental game. So trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle is really important, and it's all about networking. So introduce yourself to people and be prepared to learn, and enjoy it, and know in your heart that it's what you want to do, because it's a very difficult career choice. So there are a lot of no's before somebody says yes. But just remember that no is really just a little knock to tell you you're going in the wrong direction and it's time to try a different avenue. So always take no as an opportunity, not as a definite answer to a question. You know, if somebody says no, it just means not right now or not for this. But music is all about opinions, and it's all about fitting into different boxes. And if you can recognize that the no is just not for you at that moment, then you'll be unstoppable. Okay guys, I really hope that was helpful, and I hope that you got to learn a couple of things. Check out my Instagram page, Sam Durban. Otherwise, go to my website, www.samanthalanders.com, and you can watch some of my videos if you like. But I really hope I get to see you at one of my shows sometime when we are out of lockdown.
Thanks, Samantha. It was really lovely having you with us. Bye.